other?
Well, it would be tough, right? Because Atlanta was one of the few. You look at, Atlanta came from that W.B. Du Bois, tradition. Atlanta was, W.B. Du Bois was teaching at Atlanta University when he really started pushing the whole theory of the talented 10th. Atlanta became a talented 10th city. Morehouse moved to Atlanta, I think in 1880, something like that. Became Morehouse around 1904. And the whole founding of Morehouse was as a talented 10th response to Booker T. Washington, Tuskegee, and the Atlanta Compromise speech. Right?
What is that?
So the Atlanta Compromise speech was the one I was referencing when he spoke at Piedmont Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
so you're saying the Tuskegee one was in opposition to what was going on?
No. So
it was all inclusive.
What was the other side of the coin for?
Well, the other side of the coin was we're gonna continue to fight for equality and equity.
Oh, okay.
Whereas W.B. Du Bois was like, nah, we can give all that up. If you let us have our property, don't bother us, let us plow our stuff. And W.B. Du Bois was like, yeah, you can't trust that, which is true. And so Atlanta was always more of a W.B. Du Bois city. Whereas, New Orleans had a large black population, but New Orleans was more of a Booker T. Washington type of attitude where it's like, you know what, as long as, look, there's a certain percentage of black folk that are cool in this city, and we're not going to push those levers.
Right.
Whereas Atlanta was always like, no, we're going to push these levers because we understand where we need to be. And also the leadership in Atlanta was like that. I mean, you look at John Wesley Dobbs. You look at Benjamin E. Mays.
Keep talking.
And from John Wesley, even John Hope, right. The first black president of Morehouse. All these guys were pushing these levers, and this was in the up into the 40s.
So hold up. So basically, what I'm hearing you say, it has to be a pipeline from a university to the community to it was a pipeline that went from the universities straight into the system.
Well, it was a pipeline that went from the universities, but it's also a pipeline from a generation of African Americans that understood the politics, the business community, and all that were pushing it. Carmichael talked earlier about generational leadership. Generational leadership is not just about, it's my generation, I'm going to lead.
Right.
It's also about who's going to follow me. That's the other thing Atlanta did. One thing that's different from Atlanta from other cities is that historically, you elected Maynard mayor in 1973. He took office in 74. We knew who the next black mayor was going to be.
Right.
There was no competition for that position. You had minor competition, but we knew who the black people were going to support.
Right.
Same thing after that black mayor left in 1990. We knew who the next mayor was going to be.
Keep going.
And from there. And that's how Atlanta has always kind of operated. And it's operated that way because at the end of the day, Atlanta's all about who is going to be the best mayor for black business. And the mayor who promoted black business the hardest was Maynard Jackson. Maynard never tried to run for, he never tried to change the city charter to run for a third term.
Right.
He knew who the next mayor was going to be. He's like, we have to have Andrew Young in there. And he did it.
So Dubious, as you talk about, dude, this is so fantastic as you talk about this, right? So now we're in 2024, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the city is amazing, man. The city, we have great people coming in town to the city. We have an amazing mayor into the city. And so let's talk about how we move forward from now. It's 2024,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And so it's so important we talk about that. We have Andre Dickens. He's amazing. Good friend of mine. Dre, what's up, brother?
Mm-hmm.
And we love you. And so as we continue to move forward, because the city is changed, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
As a developer, I've seen the city has changed. We have mass gentrification. We have what I say, urban pioneers, which I love urban pioneers, and the city is on fire. And I love Atlanta. What's going on right now? The diversity of thought, the diversity of people coming into the city, and so it's amazing what's going on to the city. And so let's talk about how do we move forward into the next 100 years. What does it look like for us in Atlanta?
And let me add something on there too. How do we make sure Atlanta doesn't turn into those other cities that it didn't fare out well for?
Well, I think there are a couple of things Atlanta has to be cognizant of. One is, you can't have a city where you price out the people that made it. Really, Atlanta. Part of the thing with Atlanta was historically Atlanta was great for Black people that had college degrees and that were middle class, but it was not that great for poor people.
That's right.
And so
that's what we talk about.
Yeah, and so Atlanta has to become also a city where poor people can thrive and where poor people can rise in class. Now, part of that's Atlanta's problem, because you've had a lot of mayors that have sought to address poverty. But, it's hard to address poverty when you don't have the state on board with you. You don't have the federal government on board with you. But we have to have we have to have affordable housing.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we have to have that.
I want to talk about that because I'm a developer.
And Coma's a developer, so he would know more about that actually than me.
I would.
You have to have, you have to have and you also have to have a way in which you're generating smaller businesses, right, and allowing them to get access to, city government, city contracts and things like that. Because you actually have a lot of people, you don't necessarily need a college degree to start a business.
All right.
Right? You just have to know what you're doing. And, that's another thing. But Atlanta has some issues. I mean, we could either go down the DC route, New York route, or
go to Atlanta route.
Or we can do the Atlanta route.
And so the Atlanta route, that's what I'm saying about Atlanta route. So you made a good point, Doobie, about the DC route to where you price people out.
Right.
But the Atlanta route is gonna be different. I'll tell you why it's gonna be different. Because we have amazing leadership with Mayor Dickens, and it's all about affordability and building property that our people can afford, right? And so it's not about the folks who are the upper echelon that can afford houses. It's all about the people that, the police officers, the teachers. And so I'm a developer. And that's what we want to build with the help of the mayor, because he's made a decision to say, hey, listen, we're going to build houses to benefit them, right? I don't care what the cost is. I don't care about inflation and all this nonsense that's going on in the world right now. We're going to help our people. And so the thing about this is our mayor right now, this brother is on board with making this happen. I'm telling you this because I know this. It's going to get done. And so what Duke is talking about is so important. Like a lot of people, potentially the numbers, you can get priced out. You just can look at the numbers and the affordability. But we're going to do, with the system and the help of the governor. We've got a great governor in town, in the state, and we've got a great mayor, and it's going to get done. We're going to take care of our people. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a great mayor. We have a great city council. The governor, I'm 50-50 on. I mean,
I believe in our governor. He's going to make it happen for us.
Well, I think the governor has done a good job of staying out of controversial Atlanta stuff, like the city of Buckhead and the takeover of the airport. So the other things the governor.
So would you say that we got a great governor? Yes or no?
No.
And tell me why.
I'm not. And I tell you why. I mean, look.
Tell me why.
There are other things that the governor has done. I think that has been, the signing of the 6-week abortion bill impacts Black women and their health outcomes Their healthcare outcomes more
so
so than anybody else.
So as you say that, right? Have you looked at the legislation that was happening to where that's been overruled?
It hasn't been overruled because the Georgia Supreme Court came. No, it hasn't. Now the appeals court came in and overruled the judge.
And they came back over.
Yeah, so it's still in place. Yeah, and so look, I'm not saying Kemp's a bad governor. I'm not saying he's a great governor either. Yes, he's not MAGA. You know, he's not a Klansman. He's not signing on to the stealing of Georgia's electoral votes. But at the same time, I mean, his policies are not exactly pro-black. And not only that, they aren't exactly pro-anti-poverty. Because the state of Georgia, you know, has put in place all kind of laws where, you know, you can't have, you know, the city can't get involved in how much people charge poor people for rent, things like that. So I'm not saying that Kemp is awful by any stretch of the imagination, but the fact that I'm saying he's not awful means that he's not awful compared to, let's say, DeSantis or Bill Lee, who's governor of Tennessee.
So I got a question for you about Governor Kemp.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk about him for a second, right?
Okay.
And so when I look at Governor Kemp, right? Personally, I think COVID happened.
Right.
He went against the grain. Said let's keep the state of government. Let's keep Georgia open, right?
Okay.
And that was good for us, right? And so that's one. So two, I look at like how he is pro business for the state. If you look at the state, man, all those guys from California and Texas during the pandemic, they came to Georgia to open business.
But were they black or white?
It doesn't matter.
They were black.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll break down that.
It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of brothers that came here.
Right.
Right. And so I'm talking to you.
But that wasn't Kemp, though.
Hold on. I'm telling you something for a second. So we started a thing with a collaborative, right, about young black commercial developers coming to Atlanta, right, during the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. Everything was shut down, right? Governor Kemp says, hey, come to this city, come to this state, and we're open, we're going to take care of you. And so certain things, when I hear certain things, so we got to realize, like, we got to embrace, like, hold on a second for a second. We cannot demonize everybody, right?
No, I agree.
And so you have to salute Governor Kemp for his leadership. Because everybody said, let's shut it down, let's shut it down, let's shut it down, let's shut it down. He was one of the, you know, he's one of the few governors that said, hey, let's keep going.
But here's the thing. So, you know, the reason why, especially black folk from Silicon Valley moving to Atlanta, was because of the racism they experienced in Silicon Valley.
No, people move from Atlanta in general. Like,
well, in general, people were already moving to Atlanta though, even before the COVID. Even before COVID. They was going to Atlanta. They was going to Texas. They were leaving California. Well, white people were going to Austin. Black people were coming to Atlanta. And the idea of Atlanta, which was actually created under Kassim, was to make Atlanta the black Silicon Valley. And so...
Under who?
Under Kassim. Actually, Kassim started
Kassim Reed, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And